Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at these 4 Nintendo Switches. Per request in the comments, we're going to be taking a look at these because none of these turn on, they don't charge, and we're going to see what's wrong with each of them and see if we can fix them. Let's get started. Now, there are a lot of things that can cause a Nintendo Switch to stop working. One could be the charge port, another could be the battery. You could also have issues with the charging circuit, such as the M92 IC, which controls the charging. There's also a charging IC that's for the battery that can go bad, and there's other shorts that can happen on the motherboard, preventing it from turning on. Liquid damage is another big one. But for the most part, the main reason Nintendo Switches stop charging, from my experience, is the charge port gets damaged. And sometimes in the process of it getting damaged, the M92 chip goes out as well because it shorts out due to the pins getting broken inside the port. So we'll go over these one by one, and I'm going to try to make it a relatively quick video. So let's get started. Alright, so we'll tackle each of these one at a time, but first let's take a look at the charging ports. And as I can clearly see, there is definite damage to the charge port. So this one, we're going to first start by replacing the port. And let's take a look at this one. And that port looks really good. So this one's probably not the port. This one as well, I don't see any damage. And this one, okay, definite pin damage there. So this one and this one automatically we'll do the ports on, but these two may require something different. So here I've got a little tester. We'll turn it on. This will test the USB-C port and give us some information. What we're going to be looking for is any signs of shorting out on different lines. If it's all green, then we know that it's something else. Okay, we've got a ground on our CC1 line. From experience, this is linked to the M92 chip. So what most likely happened is this guy was connected when a power surge happened and it shorted out the M92 chip. Let's take a look at this one and see what we have with this one. And I wonder if it's going to be the same thing. All right, same thing on this one as well. Both of them are shorted on the CC1 line, which from my experience, again, is the M92. All right, so here we've got the M92 chips. So these two get those, and here I've got some Switch Lite ones, so these ones get those. I'm probably going to do a quick time lapse of taking these apart. Alright, so we've got this board out, and clearly this one has some port damage. So let's go and pull off this port and replace it with a new one. All right, I have some very detailed videos of how I go about doing these port replacements. So if you want a better explanation, go ahead and check those out. All right, now that it's cooled down, let's run another test on it and see if we come up with the functioning port or if there's any other issues. Because sometimes when the port is like that, it can cause issues with the M92 as well. So hopefully we see all green, then we'll know we can put this back in. And there we go. Everything's green, everything's at the values we should be seeing. So this one should be fixed. Now this one's unique because this is not the original battery, and I can tell that someone has replaced the charge port as there's still evidence of flux on here. So it could be just a charge port because of the damage, but it's always interesting to see other people's work, not adhering the battery, for example. It's just going to rattle around in there. And the M92 chip also looks very interesting along with this one. So this has had work done on it before, but clearly the port is damaged. So let's go ahead and swap that and see if anything else has happened on anything over here with these two chips that I previously talked about. All right, just got done replacing the port. Spared you that one, but let's go ahead and test it real quick and see if this one is good. We're probably looking for the exact same values we got on the last one that are still displayed here. And look at that. Everything was good. So this one too should be fixed. All right, let's change up a little bit and let's look at this Nintendo Switch, as the other two were lights. Let's pop off the side pieces. And of course this one looks good and it tests good on the charge port, except for the CC1 line. So we'll take out the center screw on both sides, check and make sure there's no games or SD cards, and we'll take out all the screws, and that one's missing. So I wonder if this one has had someone in it before as well, or maybe it just fell out on its own. And then this one should come apart. Alright, so this one's a little different. The M92 chip is not on the back. There is a chip on the back that does go bad occasionally, but we're going to probably be looking at this M92. So for this, we're going to get out a multimeter, and I'm going to set it into diode continuity. And the most likely culprit is obviously the M92 as well. So what we're going to do is we'll put our red probe on ground, and we're going to test around these caps. Now, what I like to do is go straight to these first three caps, and typically the middle one will be shorted. You can see we've got a partial short here. This side is ground. This side should not be ground. It should read something like 0.34, like the one next to it, 0.329. Okay, yeah. So both of these two are showing shorts, but they're not straight to ground, which tells me it's the M92. So let's go pull that, and I'll show you how to replace it. All right, so here we've got the M92. You can see that the dot is here in the corner. And if I hold it just right, you can read the M92 T36. Take a bit of flux, and we'll go around the chip for a second there. Now I'm going to come in with some hot air, and we'll pop this chip off. And just like that, it's off. Now what I like to do go over and add extra solder, some lower melting solder to all of the pads. Now it's not 100% necessary, but I do like to do it. Now I'm going to take our new chip, and I like to pre-tin. This is also a step that is not necessary, but I like to do it because it prevents me from having to go back and do extra work. We'll add some flux, and we'll come in with some solder, and I'm just going to pre-tin all of the little pads here. And I try not to get any on the grounding pad in the middle, just because there's already plenty down there on the board. In fact, there's probably going to be some squeeze out when I'm done, which is fine. I can go back in and remove that. So we'll flip over the chip, and you can see the little circle here in the corner. We'll line that back up in the top left corner like it was before. I'm going to center this as best I can. Now we're going to come in with the hot air. At 400 Celsius is what I like to do for this chip. To get it on real quick, wait for it to heat up, start to move. You can start to see all of the solder melts on the board, and you'll see the chip start to want to settle into place. All right, now we'll go back in. I'll go back in later and clean up the flux, but I just wanted to test it real quick and see if replacing the chip has fixed it, and if it's on properly. I should get all green here again, just like the other charge port, and boom, there we go. That means that this board should be good. And of course, one other way to test it, if you don't have that tester, is you could get your multimeter and go back and check those pins or those caps there, And when we test that cap that was shorted out, now, like I said, we're supposed to get 0.4 something. There we got 0.47 there. And the one next to it, 0.33. So yeah, we're back to working with this one. Now my desk is starting to get a little chaotic with parts, so I'm going to go ahead and reassemble these three real fast, and then we'll work on the fourth one. Alright, so I will go back in and apply new thermal paste to all of them before I put them all the way back together. But I wanted to get things mainly put back together to keep things a little bit more organized on the desk. Now let's take a look at this switch light and see what we get when it goes to testing the motherboard. All right, it looks like someone's actually been in here before and tried to work on the M92. So maybe, and it looks like the port has actually been replaced, but it was a really good job. Let's test this one again and see what it comes up with. And we're, all right, we've got ground on CC2. And that's because the board is flipped over, so it's gonna read it in reverse. So we're gonna flip it over. The M92 is over here. We'll get out our multimeter again. And red probe, we'll put it on ground here on the charge port. And let's test the caps. Nothing looks bad there, but given that it's been worked on before, I'm going to go ahead and pull it and replace it, and then we'll test again. All right, definitely looks like someone's been here before. We'll start by pulling it off. All right, so the solder around it actually looks really good. I'm just going to take the time to tin up the new one. All right, so got a little bit of solder down on that center pad. We'll heat it up to spread out for a second there. All right, we've got the arrow pointing to this corner, so that's where we're gonna put the circle. All right, we'll heat up the area with some big circles. I'm gonna compress the chip down real quick. A little bit of squeeze out is just fine. Just come in with the iron, and we'll pick up the excess solder real fast. Make sure there's no bridging. Add some fresh flux. And go in one more time and reflow this. Alright, there we go. Let's snap into. Alright, we'll go in and clean up the area. All right, now that it's all clean, let's go test it. All right, let's go ahead and plug it in and see if we get a change on this ground. We should have all green if we're all good to go. And there we go. Everything's looking good now. That area no longer looks like it's been worked on. It's no longer covered in burnt flux. And let's reassemble this one and then test them all. Alright, so now just need to grab my Nintendo Switch charging cable and let's see if we can get the charging symbol on this one. And there we go. Actually looks like there's a good amount of charge to it, so it's automatically going to turn on. And there we go. One thing I like to do is flip this over. That makes me confident that everything's going to work with video and everything connecting it. So this one's good. Let's do the same with this one. It's like there's a crack on the screen protector there, but do we get, and we do, we get charging symbol. And we'll flip it over and test it. And do we get it again? We do. So this one is also done. We'll want to charge it up, make sure the battery's good. Let's take a look at this one. Plug it in. And do we get the logo? We do. Let's flip it over. And we want to see it again. There it is. Let's take a look at the last one, which is the regular switch. Let's plug it in. And do we get a battery charging symbol? We would if I connected the battery, probably. Let's try this again. Plug it in. Do we get life? And there we do. Let's flip it over. And do we still get life? Let's see when it comes on, because this one had some charge. And we do. fully charged. This one's also good to be finally put back together. So we'll do that, and we're basically done. All right, so they are now all working. They're charging. Everything's looking great on all four. So 4 devices, completely dead, not charging, not turning on, back to life. Now, of course, there are a few other scenarios that you might run into, but these are the most common. And sometimes they're combined. Sometimes a port goes bad and it kills the M92. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.